Hey folks, in this video, we're going to talk about how and why to change the oil in your RAM ProMaster yourself while traveling on the road. Now, if you want to just skip this intro and go right to the oil change part, I'll put a link to that in the description below. But first, let me tell you why you would want to change it yourself on the road. The reasons are because of time, cost, and convenience. Let's start by talking about cost. So you could just drive your RAM ProMaster to any Jiffy Lube or Valvoline, Walmart, places like that. And when we first started living on the road, that's exactly what we did. We started by going to Jiffy Lube and Valvoline, but we found that we paid anywhere between $80, $85 to over $100 in Portland to change the oil in our RAM ProMaster. And the other thing is, at those places, if you go full synthetic, which we use in our RAM ProMaster, they charge you like an extra 25 bucks, which is crazy because it's only like a $4 difference if you buy your own oil. So that's one thing, cost. Let's talk about Walmart. Walmart, I've had my ProMaster oil change there a number of times, and 54 bucks was about the average. So that's pretty good. The problem with Walmart is, first of all, time. I never got out of a Walmart in less than an hour and a half. You kind of have to make an appointment. Even if you drive in, they take your name and then you have to wait till they work on your van. And believe it or not, I've been to quite a few Walmarts that didn't have bays high enough to take my van. Now, my van with the stuff on top is only 10'6", and yet they couldn't take my van in one of their bays. But more importantly, I stopped going to Walmart because the last Walmart I went to, they put my oil plug on with an impact wrench. Next time I went to change the oil, I had to do it myself. I was out in the hinterland somewhere and I couldn't get into a Walmart and I could not get that drain plug off. I finally had to buy one of those tools that you use for a ratchet that strips your plug. And then I had to go to the dealer and pay an exorbitant $15 for a little oil plug that should have cost about $2. But I digress. That's what you get when you buy stuff at a dealership. So that's the convenience factor. If you change it yourself, you can change it anywhere. Let's go back and talk about costs a minute, and I'll show you what you're going to need to change the oil yourself. Obviously, you're going to need the oil, right? So I'm using Quaker State SAE 5W20, which the RAM ProMaster takes. And for the full synthetic ultimate protection, that was $23.98, let's say 24 bucks. It takes 6 quarts. So I got an extra quart, that's a 5-quart container. That was $7.12. Then we have our oil filter. I kind of use the cheapy oil filters because I change my oil more often than recommended. That oil was $5.06, or that filter was $5.67. We also have a funnel, which I won't include in the final price because I've had this for years. But the funnel, if you have to buy it new, is $2.95 at Walmart. And finally, the thing that makes this all possible to do on the road is this. What is this called? Hyper Tough 7-quart oil pan, $2.97. So the total that I spent at Walmart for all of this was almost exactly $40, just under $40, like $39.98, something like that. At any rate, a couple other things that you're going to need for this job is a crescent wrench, and really that's all you need, but it's a little bit more convenient if you also have a 13mm socket wrench. I'm using one of these little ratchet drives. Nitro gloves or latex gloves. Unfortunately, I'm pretty low right now, so I only have one. I usually used to. And finally, there's nothing that I can do on my van without an entire roll of paper towels. And yes, I am wearing a dress. Actually, it's a black apron, but I'd rather get oil on my apron than on my clothes. Okay, so let's go change our oil in our RAM ProMaster. Let's start by opening the hood. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a tight fit under here. I put a tarp down for convenience sake, and I get this on here. And I'm gonna loosen this bolt before I slide the oil pan underneath. I got the bolt cracked. Now I put the oil pan underneath and let it flow. And make sure you let it drain until the oil stops dripping to assure that you've gotten as much of the oil out of the engine as possible. Next, we'll remove the filler cap and we'll pull the oil filter, which is located right here. And I always have my handy paper towels ready. You'll notice I forgot to put my glove on. And I also take a plastic bag and stick it right in the engine compartment. So when I remove that oil filter, I can stick it right in the bag and prevent oil from getting all over my engine. So now we'll use our crescent wrench to try to loosen this thing. It's a little bit tight working quarters in here. And this does take quite a few turns to get this off because it's nice and tight in there. If you have the right size socket wrench, I guess you could take this off with a socket wrench instead of a crescent wrench. And there's the old oil filter right there. And you can see why I put the bag in the engine compartment to keep that from getting all over. Then I just take the bag, hold that thing there, and that just pops right out like that. And now what we're going to do is drop that in there. I'm going to take this off. I'll show you how in a moment. And I'm going to wipe this out before we replace and put the new filter in. Let's do that now. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to replace this O-ring with a new O-ring. I'll show you how to take that off in a moment here. But before you do that, you might want to open up your filter box, and there should be a brand new O-ring. There's the new filter. There should be a brand new O-ring in there. And it is right there. So don't cut that old one off until you make sure you have a new one. There's somebody at Walmart has undoubtedly opened up some of these boxes and stolen the O-ring. Okay, so I just cut this off. I figured that. It's easy. Okay, now we'll put the new O-ring on. Like that. I'll put the new oil filter in place. And that just pops in there. Snaps in just like that. And now we'll go install that. And we just put that back in exactly the way it came out. Hand tighten it, and then use the crescent wrench to finish it. Now I'm just going to replace the oil drain plug. Just hand tighten that. Wipe all the oil off. And now we just fill the oil up. Replace the oil cap. Close the lid. We're almost done. Careful, 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 careful. Let's talk about disposing of this oil. So, what do you do with this? I'm going to show you in just a minute. Now this is a little bit messy here, so I'm going to put on the one glove I have left. I don't know what good that's going to do. But, okay, disposing of this oil. First of all, the good thing is AutoZone, probably other places as well, but AutoZone, if you take your old oil back in the original container, I don't know if that's necessary, but I always do, in a container that's sealed and it's nothing but oil, there's no other kind of dirt or junk in there, AutoZone will recycle it. So we've got to get the oil from there into here to take it back to AutoZone. And this container is a little bit flimsy, I found. It's very difficult for me to pick that up and pour it in here without spilling it all over the place. So I'm going to go back and use my funnel here. And I start by using a disposable cup, paper or plastic, it doesn't matter. This was from a Big Gulp that somebody had. I took it out of the trash. But we'll just start by doing this until we can get the oil down to the point where I could lift that up and dump it. Then once I get the oil down to a point where I can pick this thing up, I'll just go right like this. Okay, and we got that, and only spilled a few little spots of oil right here. Nice and clean, but here's the environmental impact of this job. I do not have room in my cubby van for carrying one of these things around. That's why I buy the cheapo 297 thing. Just throw all of the dirty stuff in there. Stick that in the trash bag. And now we dispose of this properly somewhere on the road. We take this back to AutoZone and we're done. And that's how you change your oil on the road in your RAM ProMaster.
How long did it take you?
How long did it take me? It took me longer to shoot the video than it did to change the oil. It usually takes me about 20 minutes start to finish to change the oil. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of them. And consider subscribing to the channel if you don't mind. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you on the road.